Hello guys, welcome to another video. In this video, we will see how we can change the schema name, database name, and how we can change the model name as well using alias. Let's see these three things, how to pass the custom schema, database, and the custom alias name for the model. Okay. So as we know, we can pass either in the schema.yaml under this model config and all these details, or else you can pass from the profiles.yaml as well under your models here, or else you can pass from the config as well, directly from the config as well. If you see here, we have the config here as well, we can pass. So let's try it out this way. I gave the table name, I gave the schema name, I gave the database name, I gave this alias name. You can call this macro, or else you can just directly give the alias as well. So let me pass here. Instead of calling the macro, we can even call that specific macro, or else we can pass the alias name as well. So I'll pass sales init 2025. So what does this mean? So I am aliasing this particular sales init model with this particular name. So I want my target table should be with this particular name, and I want my target database to be created in this particular DB. I want my target schema should be in this particular schema, which means we already declared the schema name, the database name, everything in the profiles.yaml, right? So we are asking, please don't use whatever is there in the profiles.yaml. Instead, use whatever I am giving you in this config. That's what this config block is. Config block will have the high preference even than what is mentioned in the profiles.yaml. So let me give you some other database. Right now, my profiles.yaml is targeted to YouTube, and this also is targeted to YouTube. So let me give YouTube DB, some other database, but which is not supported because my DBT is with Postgres, and in DBT Postgres we can't do the cross database functionality. So let me show you the error when I do DBT run. If you see, cross DB references not allowed in Postgres, but if you go with Snowflake or something else data warehouses, it is supported. So that time you can just give it. So I removed it, I gave the same database name. Now it should work. So now if I run, if you see, my database name is in the same database only. My target name is alias. If you see here, it is alias perfectly. It doesn't have the name of the SQL file sales in it. Instead, it has a sales in it 2025. But now if you see the schema name, it is YouTube schema underscore sales schema. Let me go and check my profiles.yaml. Schema name is YouTube schema, and what am I giving here? Sales schema. So both got appended here. The name, the schema name from the profiles.yaml and the schema name what we have here in this config, both got appended. Why is this appended? Is because DBT internally calls the macro, and inside that macro they are appending both. That's why it's behaving like that. So I have created a macro file here, and here I have just copy pasted the code of that particular macro here. If you see, for custom schema they are calling this particular generate schema macro, or else not only for custom schema, they use this particular macro for creating the schema. And if you see, the default is whatever is the target schema. If any custom schema is passed, then it will comes to the else block. If no custom schema is passed, then it will be whatever is there in the profiles.yaml. But here if you see, they are appending the default schema underscore the custom schema. As per the documentation, they say they are doing it because when we are working in the dev environments, each user will have their own specific schema based on the user, so that if multiple team members run the same DBT project, the models won't be overwritten. They will have their own custom schema. That's why they have come up with this approach. But we can modify it. How we can modify it? When in DBT, when you call the same macro with the same name as the default one, instead of calling the DBT internal default macro, it calls this one. So here we can remove the default schema which is coming from profiles.yaml. That's it. So now if I run DBT run, this particular part should go away. DBT run in the schema. See, if you see, only sales schema has come. That's what I have mentioned in this model, only sales schema. Like that, the purpose here is like we have to use the default to macro, and we have to modify the code in the default macro so that the default behavior will be overridden. So similarly, we have one for generate database name, and here the macro is not appending. If you pass default, it is using default. If you pass custom, it is using custom, and it didn't work for me because the Postgres doesn't support the cross database functionality. And also for alias name, if you see, if you pass the alias name, it is giving the custom alias name. So if you don't pass anything, then it is getting this one, node dot name. Node is nothing but a argument which will have all the metadata information about the file path, the model name, the version and everything. Like this particular argument is a dictionary where it will have the node name, version and everything. So node is a dictionary argument. That's what I'm trying to say. So like that, if you use the default macros and if you tweak the code in those default macros, we can override the functionality which DBT is doing by default. Here we have removed the default schema, so it is using only custom schema. So now if I try to tweak something else in this custom schema, it should even work, use that as well. So if I give like EAA, so it should create a new schema with the name sales schema AAA. So let's see if it works or not. See, if you see, it has appended. So this is the schema name it got created in our target. If we go and refresh the schemas, see, it created a new schema, and inside which it might have created that particular table. See, sales in a 2025. So like that, tweaking these macros will help us to override the default functionality of the macro behavior. That's it. So in case if you want to customize your schemas or database or alias, you have to tweak these macros only. So this is how we need to tweak the schema name. If you want, you can even tweak the database name as well. I can't do anything because it don't support in Postgres, and it is how we can even tweak the alias name. Even if you see, I can even give some alias as well here. I'll write something as QQQQ. That's it. Now if I do DBT run, see, my alias name has been changed. So for every of the model, even if you pass the custom name here, as it internally calls this particular macro, and we are overriding this particular macro, inside the overridden macro we are appending this. So for each and every model, for sure, whenever you try to alias, custom alias, it appends QQQQ. I mean, if you go in the real time, you can give the better naming convention. So the overall intention of this video is to show you how we can customize the schemas, alias and databases. That's it. Thank you so much for watching.